anyone buying this plot would have a geotechnical survey done probably before they bought it, just to see what the substrata was, so to see what lies beneath, because when you build your foundations, you need to know what you're tying into, you know. So is there bedrock? How deep is the bedrock? Was this a mountain that's been capped, so we're actually on bedrock now? Or do we need to put in micropiles to find the bedrock below us? So the geotechnical survey, in this instance, I doubt we've got a water source, but it would find things like water, it would tell you the type of soil, how deep you'd have to go to find bedrock, that sort of thing. So it is a legal requirement, and that's for very good reason. You could also do a topographical report, which would give you more of an understanding. It's not legally required, but it would give you an understanding of the topography. Useful if you're doing retention walls, for example, so you know the topography, how steep the land is in area, etc., etc. And it will generally define the boundaries. In Zagaleta, because it's so clearly defined, there is a master plan, and generally, you know, you've got plots which are divided by natural corridors for animals, because there's deer and wild boar in Zagaleta, and you have to respect those green zones that exist between plots. You don't have a problem with boundaries between neighbours, but in parts of Marbella, 𝘰𝘰𝘰𝘰, etc., boundaries can become, you know, an issue. So in a topographical survey, it allows you to define those boundaries very clearly. So you've got your geotechnical survey, you know what you're getting into, so what next? So your architect will then discuss what type of house you want to build, etc., etc. You go past that, the architect will then submit his basic plans to the town hall, and that will include an execution project, which is actually the building project, and after that stage you will wait for the license. During that time, because the license in Marbella can take a long time, but we're in Benahavís, thank God, so that should take 3 or 4 months, 6 months max to get a license. In Benahavís, it's very fast. So in Benahavís, you've put your plans in and you're waiting, then you can go out to tender and get builders' quotes and compare the different builders that you're interested in, and start to drill down to cost per square metre for floors, all sorts of things. And then once you've got your building license, then the building contractor can start, and then you're looking at probably 18 months. Now, how much does all this cost? It's quite expensive to build. So you've got your plot. Depending on the status of the seller, you've either paid transfer tax, or if it's a company or a developer, you've had to pay VAT, which is 21% plus stamp duty. So then you've got to hire architect. Architects generally charge between 7 and 10% to do all of that work and create the project, and submit it to the College of Architects and to the town hall to get the license. The other person you're going to need is a technical architect, which is normally around 3%. All of these percentages are based on your building quote. So it's very important that you get your building quote as low as possible. And on top of those core costs, you might want to consider using a project manager. They normally charge roughly 5% of your net building costs, and they can obviously make a difference if you bring them in early enough to the building cost, because they're used to negotiating with builders and looking for cost efficiencies in all of the quotes. So your license fees, you're going to be looking at, it depends on the town hall, but anything from 1.5% to 4% of those building costs as well. And then obviously you've got your raw building costs, which is a very wide spectrum. So you could be looking at anything for, I don't know, let's say a standard block of apartments in Estepona could be 2,000 euros a square metre at the moment, and that's taking into account inflation. But in Zagaleta, you're probably looking at, I don't know, minimum 3,500, 4,000, could be crazy, 5,000 euros a square metre. Inflation has impacted raw materials, it's steel, all sorts of basic costs have gone up, cost of labour for builders has gone up. So it is quite an expensive business once you start talking 4,000 euros a square metre and you're building a 3,000 square metre house. So you can start to look at the numbers and how huge they are. So for a plot like this, then once you've factored in all of your building costs, etc., you're into, you know, big numbers. It's easily 20 million to build a substantial villa. So you've got to have quite a lot of money to undertake a project like this.